One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice.
Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscience, the show that is created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. I am Michael Eric Owens, and you're on Black in Studios with me on this bright, sunny day. Man, it's nice to have some sun. Had quite a bit of rain lately here in Oklahoma City, and it's nice to be, feeling the sun all on the skin. Man, need some life, folks. I titled this particular podcast, I don't know what episode we on. 170. That's what Richard said, 170. He keeps up with all those numbers, and I appreciate it too. So let's say this. Chaos. What do we do? What do we do in a country thrived in chaos? It's a very important question. I think anyone that has their hand on the pulse, that is above ground today, understands that we are in, it's not a good situation. Matter of fact, I would say in my life, I have never seen a country in such turmoil, in such division, a divided country, racially, ethnically, divided today on, quote unquote, the Lord's Day, black churches, white churches, Hispanic churches. We can just look at the politics of our day and the likes. We are a divided nation, deeply divided. Communities are divided. Families are divided. It's chaos, folks. It's chaos. How do we thrive? How do we thrive in the midst of chaos? When the storm is raging around us, when troubled waters, when the boat is rocking. I know a little bit about troubled waters. Been out on the ocean for many years in the Navy. When the Atlantic gets rough and you have to batten down the hatches, how do you survive? What do we do? You see, we have this impeachment trial going on. And I don't want to dive into the specifics of this trial, but it's only the third time in American history where a president has been impeached. And this is in your hour here on the planet. This is in your lifetime that we have a president that half of the country, a little bit more, says is unfit. And then we have the other side that is fighting to keep him there. If a house divided, I think I read this somewhere, cannot stand, how can we have a efficient, I think capable, strong, committed, motivated, engaged government when it is divided? Now, I understand the separation of powers. That's not, the separation of powers don't mean that you hate the different bodies. So we are at a point in our country where our government is divided. They're not working together. They're working against one another. I don't care which side you're on. There is no unity. It's impossible. we're trying to impeach a president. You see, and what's so ironic about the chaos that this country is in, that it's been building and increasing exponentially month after month after month. And we only have 10 months until the 2020 election. 2020 election. If you think it's chaotic now, what is it going to be like then? I mean, we are so infused with this idea of who has the rights to be here, who has the rights to articulate their truth, who has the rights to be called an American. I mean, immigration, that's what that's about. Equality, that's what that's about. Who has the right to be called the true American? Right? Take our country back. Okay. So in the midst of chaos, when the world around us seems so uncertain, I mean, and I'm just talking about the United States. I mean, we can even toss in the international, countries in the Syria and the Iraq and Iran. I mean, we can toss all that into North Korea. We could toss all that into even a continent. We can toss into the discussion. And clearly, as I said before, anyone with their hand on the pulse and above ground today, man, you have to recognize we are in chaos. So how do we relate to each other? How do we operate in chaos? Well, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to attempt to answer that question. How do we, as people, 2020, the year is 2020, not by mistake. Not by mistake that we are here. How do we operate? What do we do? We'll be right back.
Oklahoma Humanities Brain Box podcast uses the humanities to take listeners on a deep dive into the issues affecting American society and culture. Join some of Oklahoma's most interesting and knowledgeable humanities scholars to explore how history, literature, ethics, philosophy, and other humanities fields inform our understanding of current events and the human experience. And to find the Brain Box podcast, simply search Brain Box Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and any other podcasting library. If you have any ideas or comments rattling around in your noggin, email us at brainbox@okhumanities.org.
This is Dr. Laura Gillott, and when I listen to podcasts, I always listen to the One Mic, One Voice show.
All right. Richard, I think he over there trying to scratch or something. He's scratching with the mouse. You know he a bad man. Yes. How? What do we do? You know, from the disastrous effects of climate change to gun violence to the growing poverty among school children, among young people, especially minorities, to the increasing suicide rate, not just among teens, but among veterans. How do we respond and how do we relate to each other? I think, first of all, we have to understand that these things are happening. I think that it's really easy to get lulled into sleep. You know, when you hear about a young black man, boy, being killed, I think we're numb to that. When we hear about the growing poverty among poor kids, including poor white kids, I think we're numb to that. You know, there's so much that is occurring in our nation, and it's almost like you can't take it all in. You can't care about all of it. You can't be impacted by all of that. You know, we only have a certain amount of capacity to take all of this in. But let me just say this. When chaos is happening around you, there's a danger to not recognize it. There's a danger to not absorb it and not embrace it. It won't go away by itself. Kicking the can down the road is going to be there when you get to it. We have to recognize that these things are truly happening, that people are truly hurting. But I also think that we need to think about it on the flip side, right? This idea that, man, life is not so bad, right? You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes this is the other extreme. You get so absorbed in it that you miss the beautiness of your life, right? So being able to strike a balance in the midst of chaos is extremely important, right? You see, many of us have decided to pick a side, to take up an ideology. You know, I'm amazed when it comes to the conversations that people are having these days. The conversation is based upon something that you don't control. Me sitting up here talking about the political climate, and I'm not saying don't be engaged with politics, but I'm saying if these are the conversations, the only conversations that you are having with people about what's going on the national level, and why this person is not doing this, and why this senator is not doing that, and why the president is not doing this. You know, what do you control? By you having that conversation, is it making a difference? Is it slowing down the chaos? You know, for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the Ralph Ellison Foundation, along with Temple B'nai Israel, the Jewish Federation of Oklahoma, Respect Diversity Foundation, and Langston University have been doing this thing called a 2 community dialogue. We've been talking about the challenges that both of our communities have faced, the great history we have, and how we fractured. And we're talking about ways to reunite again. That's happening within the midst of the chaos. Why is that important? It's important because we control that conversation. We control our interactions between each other. Ultimately, it's making a difference in the midst of chaos. See, some of us are so caught up in what's going on around the world, around the globe, and all of these things are extremely important. They are. I don't want to minimize climate change or I don't want to minimize any movement, the Me Too movement, or Black Lives Matter movement. I don't want to minimize any of that. But what I want to say to you is, what do you control in the midst of the chaos? Some have decided to reach back, into the American playbook and let hate be their guide. Hate. Hate. Why do we hate? Where does hate come from? What is the origin of hate? Who is the father or mother of hate? Why is it so easy to hate and so difficult to love? Why is hate more contagious than love? Why is pain, suffering more contagious than joy and peace? Why? Why is the negative more powerful than the positive in our psyche or on our psyche? Why? I think we don't feel like those things that build us are more popular than those things that tear us down. Misery loves company, right? Why? Why do we tear each other down? Why do we create chaos out of nothing? Why? Does it make one feel better? Does it make one feel more secure in their own insecurities, inadequacies? You see, we live in a world where chaos thrives. We can't get away from it, but we don't have to be originators of it. Some have chosen, as I said before, to reach back in the American playbook and let hate be their guide. This country was built. Yeah, it was built on at least, I could say hate, but at least it was built upon the idea that one race of people were not actually people. So I don't know what you can define that any way you want to, but I don't think I would define that as love. I may be wrong, but I don't think it would be. Hate. Man. Some have, again, this idea that we have to be divided is not a reality. It's not by some divine power that we're divided. It's not by some geographical space that we're divided. I grew up in Innocent, Milwaukee. I went to a private high school in an affluent suburb. Had white friends, black friends. Geography had nothing to do with those relationships. We choose to be divided. We choose oftentimes to play in the chaos, to play along with these ideologies that divide, the hatred that divide. Yes, or we are complacent. Yeah, we pretend that we don't hear it, right? That bad comment or that negativity, right? Well, if they being negative about somebody else to your face, guess what? I think they being negative behind your back. That's all I can say. We are in the midst of chaos. So how do we survive? You see, I think it's important to take your focus off of those things you cannot control. When we are preoccupied with the things that we cannot control, internally, we are in chaos. Let me repeat that. When we are preoccupied with the things that we cannot control, internally, we are in chaos. Right? Think of the individual that we agree that there's chaos around us, but think of the individual where there's chaos inside. In other words, there's no control. There's no peace. There's no joy. There's no happiness. There's no contentment. Because there's chaos within. They're so busy. Their attention is so arrested to what is happening on the national level, on the state level. And I'm like, and again, I don't want folks to say, well, Michael, this is what you're saying. No. That's not what I'm saying. I believe we have to be engaged in these things, but at the end of the day, folks, somehow we have to, in our circle, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, have some peace. Arthur says negativity is easier to maintain than happiness to some. You know what I like about that? Easier to maintain. In other words, you doing something with it, right? Negativity is easier to maintain. Yeah, than happiness to some. To maintain. That's worthy of contemplation. Yeah. I think some people have been so negative for so long in their life that there's no other way they know how to be. They've been that way their entire life. How can they be a positive person? They don't know. They have to be taught. And usually negative people don't want to be taught because nothing's going to work out, right? Because everybody's out to get them, right? They're so negative about their lives. They're so negative about you. They're negative about the world. They're negative about their future. How in the world can they maintain happiness? Maintain, right? Walk with it. Wake up with it. Hang on to it. Yeah. The narrative, man, we talked about a couple weeks ago about that narrative of your life. Man, what are you writing? You writing a chaos script? You writing a chaos script? Are you writing a love letter, romance, or success letter? Are you writing a chaos? You see, we cannot be caught up in those things that we don't control. And we don't control the national, the state, or even the local, right? That we forget about. That we forget that our lives are lived out on the local level, actually in our small circle. As I talked about, small circle. You see, at the end of the day, there's only going to be a few people. I mean, if you are truly blessed, it might be a dozen people. But really, look at your life. There's probably only a few people that truly are going to be there for you. And you're going to be there for them. There's only going to be a few people that know your heart and you know theirs. There's only going to be a few people that can stand up at the end of your days and share your story. There's only going to be a few. It's not going to be many. I know everybody loves to get up at the funeral and talk. I recognize that, especially if you've had a black funeral. Somebody want to talk. Somebody got a song. Now they might have a poetry or something. Now they don't know you. My mother told me when she passed on, she said, if they didn't know me while I was here, don't have them get up and say anything. There's only going to be a few, right? And I'm not talking about the folks you work with. You can spend all day long in an office and never know anybody, right? So that's not what I'm talking about. What do you control? You control that circle. You control that circle. Nobody can come in and out of your life unless you let them. A person don't have to know anything about you unless you share it. See, in the midst of a world in chaos, man, the only way you can survive is to understand that which you control and that which you do not. What do you control? Who do you control? Whatever you control, you have the power to change. Whatever you control, you have the power to change. Right? I can change the car I drive. Why? Because it's my car. I can change the bank I bank at. I can change the friends I have. I can change whatever I have control over, I can change. I can't change what's going on with President Trump. I can't change what Representative Horn's going to do. I can't change any of that. I can't change what the mayor's going to do. I can't change any of that because I don't control it. Chaos is all about the lack of control. There's a book, I believe, out that many, many years ago talked about order and chaos, that you can find some type of order, right? It's not what I'm talking about. What the order in chaos is you. What do we do? What do we do? I'm going to answer that question right after this short break. I think I've been given some pointers to what we do, but I'm going to kind of sum it up here when we get back from this break. Richard looking at me like I got to, take a break, bro. Talking too much. Wearing folks out. Folks, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Join us for the 7th annual Night with Ralph Ellison Gala at the Oklahoma History Center, February 29th, 6 p.m. A night of fun, music, dance, and readings of Ellison's works. To purchase a ticket or a sponsorship, go to ralphellisonfoundation.org or call 405-788-0566. All right. Yeah. All right. In a world full of chaos, what do we do? Let me give you 4 simple things. I tossed out a couple, but I'm going to give you 4 key things. Number 1, we must know ourselves despite what is going on around us. Know yourself despite the chaos, despite what you hear, you perceive. You know yourself, right? So regardless of, let me give you an example. All right. This immigration thing creates a whole lot of chaos. But one thing our Latino brothers and sisters, Latinas, should understand is they have value. They matter. They belong anywhere their hearts desire for them to be. Despite the go back to your country, despite their criminals and rapists, despite the chaos, know who you are. That's difficult because most people do not. Most people are strangers to themselves. Most people look in the mirror and they're looking at a stranger. Like, who is that dude? That dude look like me. But man, I don't even know him. Because we so caught up in the ego and I'm this, the narcissistic behavior and the sociopathic thoughts that we can't see through that cloud, the true person with strengths, but also weaknesses, right? A bruised soul, but an overcomer, a struggler, but has hope. You see, when we can't see who we are, right, then a chaos will overtake us. And we'll be like many people. We've just drawn the line, right? And then we judge. When we draw the line, we judge because you say you're not on this side of the line, so you're this. Or you don't think the way I do, so you are that. No. We know ourselves despite what's going on around us. And who's going on around us? We know ourselves. Number 2, we know our purpose and passion. In the midst of chaos, we know our purpose and our passion. Right? Do you know your purpose? That's a very deep question. Some people live their whole lives never discovering their purpose. I mean, do you know your purpose? Because if you're saying that your purpose is to make a lot of money, be a baller, drive a certain type of car, be with a certain type of person, that ain't your purpose. No one was put here for their own self-gratification. Let me tell you why. You were nurtured, or should have been nurtured. Maybe your lack of nurturing is why you're sociopathic. I don't know. But the reality is you were brought into this world, what? Dependent on somebody else. You were never self-sufficient. You needed somebody to feed you, to clothe you, to change you when you got stanky. Right? You wasn't put here for yourself. Why are you here? You know, when I go to university and I talk to students, I always start off by asking them, who are you? Who are you? And I can never get a good answer. I think that's a shame. Who are you? I probably get the same sort of looks if I say, what is your purpose in your passion? You see, knowing your passion helps you fulfill your purpose. Many of us are not fulfilling our purpose because we're working simply to pay our bills. Our passion is separated from our purpose. Therefore, we create our own chaos. Because if you are working and your purpose is aligned with your passion, there's peace. There's not chaos. The problem is we're caught up in the cycle. And before you know it, you're doing something that you don't like. Your side hustle is your passion. Oh, yeah, I understand that. Been there, done that. Your purpose and your passion must align because your passion helps you fulfill your purpose. Now, a whole show would have to be on how to find your purpose. Yeah, we don't have that time right now. Number 3, we navigate with those who have similar passions. Right. Let me tell you something. You cannot move forward while someone's trying to pull you back. It's impossible. And you cannot go forward while you're looking in the rear view mirror. That's a disaster waiting to happen. You have to have within your circle those who have similar passions. That's the only way. How did Black in Studios become the top-notch black network? One of the few in the country. Because we got folks on this network that share the same what? Passion. All right. There's no chaos. We want to do the same thing. We want to do the same thing. Articulate our thoughts, empower people, engage people through the mic, make a difference, have some fun, laugh. Number 3, again, we navigate with those who have similar passions. And the last one, man, this might be the most important one. Remain in the light. Remain in the light. There's darkness and chaos, folks. If you don't think what's happening to our country right now is dark, if you don't think the attack, the visceralness that's coming out of the mouths of our leaders is dark, if you don't think what happened to Ms. Yovanovitch and Ukraine ambassador, if you don't, her reputation was destroyed. She felt like her life was in danger. You don't think that's dark? Man, we got to stay in the light. Because only in the light, folks, only in the light can you see. I don't know, I don't know. Maybe you got night vision. You know, Mike, I got night vision, so I don't need the light. Try living in the dark for the rest of you. Well, some of y'all are living in the dark. You just don't know it. The lights are out. The bill has not been paid. You are in the dark. You just don't know it. And that's what's even worse. Man, we got to live in the light. And we have to walk with those that walk in the light. Yeah. You probably walking with darkness. You walking with darkness? Huh? Just chilling with the dark. No. Walk with those who walk in the light. You know how I'm gonna tell you how you know you walking with somebody who's in the light, because they're gonna encourage you. They're gonna support you. They're gonna stand behind you. They're gonna be a champion for you. Gonna be a fan, right? Fan of each other's, right? They're not gonna let people tear you down. They're not gonna let people say things about you, because they're walking with you in the light and they recognize who you are. The problem is we walking with darkness. Darkness has got your hand. Let go. Step into the light. Because this chaos, folks, is not going to leave us. It's only going to get worse. But it doesn't have to be chaos for us. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to share with you today. Who knows what tomorrow may bring, next week, next month, next year. But today we can walk in the light, right? Today we can do that. You can stop right now, pause, look, I'm going to get in the light. All right. Because chaos will always be here. But we do not have to have chaos within ourselves, because history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time, and what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many we became one? Or will she find that we solve nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.
We can make a difference if we try. We can beat the change that's in our lives. All we gotta do is work together. We gotta raise our children better. We gotta stop the hate, and spread the love.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. Your choice.
Thank you for downloading the One Mic, One Voice show. This episode is brought to you by Blacken Studios. To learn more about Blacken Studios, go to blackenstudios.com or visit their Facebook page. The views and opinions of the One Mic, One Voice podcast show do not reflect the views of Blacken Studios or our other sponsors.